I do a free shoutouts and promotions if you'd like to have free shoutouts and promotions. Or we can talk about anything else. Well, hello. Would you like to have a shout out and a promotion to your YouTube channel? If so, leave a comment in the comment section below. If not, thank you for joining and watching. This ride will be over and self-destruct in I don't know how many minutes. Hello, free promotions. Thank you for the hearts. So would anyone like to have a free shout out and a free promotion? I should have put YouTube in my title, but I forgot. But I think promotions and shout outs work because a lot of people love shout outs and promotions. Thank you for all the hearts. Thank you so much for all the hearts. I'm so excited to get some hearts because that doesn't happen very often. Thank you so much for all the hearts. This is such a fun ride and such a fun journey. Well, hello, James Pockmiller. Hello, James Pockmiller. Hello, Manuel. Hello, thank you for all the hearts and all the little emojis that are going up. Thank you so much for all the little hearts and emojis and all the little things flying up there from the lower right hand of the screen. Noel C. Hello, Noel C. Yes, we are getting to that time of the year where it's going to be holiday season. I deserve them. Thank you, Noel. I would love to have 1,000,000 subscribers. I would totally love that. Thank you. Yeah, I feel bad for small creators too because I know how hard it is. The thing is, a lot of us there's things that we really like to do, but if the way YouTube is set up, it makes it so hard for us to do it because, well, I don't know how I can explain this, but see, the way that someone said, the way Chad Hurley had it set up. Now, I believe YouTube has been sold from Chad Hurley, so we can talk about this, and I don't think Chad will be offended. But they said the way Chad Hurley had it set up was so that everything would float to him on the top, and then everyone else had to kind of climb their way up. But he was only thinking about himself, which means that he probably didn't even know the direction that YouTube would even go. But at the beginning, none of us knew that YouTube was interest based. And so right now, I think I don't know how it's going to work, because a lot of people have things that are favorites that they like doing. And then, well, you also have the people, I don't think Chad Hurley factored in networks either. How could he have? Uh, let's see, who is this? Silly Bree. I was your first subscriber. I subbed to small creators. Well, thank you so much, Noelle. You might be one of them I can't see, because I know I have a lot of subscribers that it's hard for me to see. And so not all of my subscribers actually show up in under the subscribers for some reason. That's how it's always been. And it's not something I'm that concerned about. It's I guess it's just something that YouTube does. And so to me it's not a big deal as long as I get subscribers. I would love to have 1 million subscribers and to be able to uh, um, earn revenue again. The real old-fashioned way. I think everybody's great. Yeah. Well, you know what? I actually kind of started out that way, um, thinking everybody was great until it got so competitive where other people were just thinking I was not great. So I'm not fond of that competitive part, because I don't want to be a part of that. It becomes hard on your spirit and on your psyche, when someone just wants to do the drama stuff all the time. I don't like that aspect of YouTube. And so, I think people have strong suits that they do. It's just like in life. For example, when let's look at it like this. When you're working at a job, okay, let's say 6 of you are dishwashers, including me. I'm a dishwasher too. So we're all dishwashers. We're washing dishes in the same restaurant. Well, are we competing with each other washing dishes? Well, no. We're all making the same pay. We're all doing the same job. So we're in a niche of washing dishes. We're not really competing with each other. Now, if they decided that they were going to downsize and get rid of some of the dishwashing slots, I suppose someone could look at it like that. But what it means is then there's not enough money. The company is not making money, so they have to let people go. And so that's like in the real life world. But see, for YouTube, it's a lot more harsh. But even though people who lose jobs in real life, unemployment insurance does not last forever. And so then people who are unemployed, hello, cool Roblox. So then people who are unemployed eventually end up in the same situation as the gig economy people. And so you could actually consider someone who has been on unemployment on their way into the doldrums and the downturn of the gig economy, because so for people who are in gig economy and self-employment, you're just thrown into that right away. We don't have anything at all. Prices are too expensive. They're too high. But then people who just lose their jobs, they lose their jobs. Part-time people. Oh, there's a lot of part-time people who lose their jobs. They don't get unemployment. I have to bring that up. So that's something that's frustrating to me. So unemployment insurance only lasts about 6 months, if people know that. I hope one day you become a big creator. I hope so too. Thank you. I want to be a big creator too. I thought it, you know what? I thought it would be fun to have the million, the gold play button. I thought it would be fun to have the million gold play button. And that's what I would like, is to have over 1 million followers, subscribers, so that I can become a great big YouTuber. Now, I'm working on the videos. I might, the way I'm going, I very well could end up with 1 million videos. Only YouTube has 1 million videos. I don't know what YouTube would do if I had 1 million videos, but if they're shorts, if they're short videos, um, now the funny part, I put up a question and answer. What's your favorite type of music? Anyone want to answer that? I put it over my star there. Um, so if you want to answer what your favorite type of music is, you can share that with me. And you know what? The thing is I have changed my style of YouTube. I've changed it on purpose, and I've changed it so that I can cross more genres on YouTube, which means that I want to cross over more topics. I want to leave it open to a lot of different topics, not just a small niche, because I think that my strategy right now, just doing this by myself, that I can turn myself into I can be like one of those YouTubers who was a gamer and got 1 million subscribers. I can do that. I feel like I can do that now. And if I don't want to say if I don't get there. I hope I get there sooner than later. That's what I would really like, is to get 1 million followers and to do some, get advertising, get advertised and get past that 4,000 watch time hours, and just not be a one niche type of a thing. And what would be really cool too, eventually it would be a lot of fun to maybe be able to do an interview with a politician or something like that. So I could do interviews, so the politicians have another outlet. Someone else. All Girls Are the Same by Juice World. This is from J. Cod, 1872. All Girls Are the Same by Juice World. What is this? J. Cod. Jacod. Oh, wait, Jacod. All Girls Are the Same by Juice World. Oh, that's an interesting. All Girls Are the Same. That's an interesting way to. I'm not doing as much drawings right now, but I believe I can work that in somehow. All girls are the same, because I've done some drawings that are on Google Keep. Now, for some reason, I need to explain this. Maybe Google is listening. Now, on Google Keep, I don't have the means to be able to save my drawing, my image, into my Google Photos. So I have to take a screenshot. I mean, that works too. But if Google is listening and they're going to continue using Google Keep, maybe they could put a little thing on there to save my drawing as an image. And so then I used the image that I made the other day of a pea in the pod lady. I made a pea in the pod lady, a pea pod lady, but it's still private right now. Oh, you have to go, Noelle. Okay, thank you so much for being here, and I will see you the next time. I might be going soon too, and making shorter videos. So I like the atmosphere of some of the changes that have been made in the past week, and related to my own personal circumstances, the atmosphere is a whole lot better. So the thing is, it's like when you get into some places, you don't realize that how the place where you're at becomes a drag. And it's like where I'm at right now, it seems a whole lot better. And it's kind of, this is where I was kind of used to, but it's like that other one is, it's like they worked hard at making things miserable in the area, and it's like, my goodness sakes, I kind of felt like they didn't like people. And so, yeah, I'm trying really hard to keep a positive frame of mind the best that I can. And, I feel good that I feel good, or that I feel better, than what I have in the past years. It's just my psyche. Sometimes I struggle, but I do feel better. It would be nice to be able to, oh, I was making a joke in another chat earlier I made a joke about me getting married to a billionaire. About me getting, and I thought, yeah, I deserve to be married to a billionaire. Or I could make my own billions. I deserve to be married to a billionaire. How about that? Or I deserve to make my own billions. I want to be the billionaire. I want to make 1 million subscribers. How about that? So that's how men think. So I need to think like a man, right? So yeah, I need to think more like a man, right? Because men will say, that's the thing men do. Think like a billionaire. Think like a president. Think like a CEO. And that's, my first YouTube channel that yeah, I still, to this day, I still think it was a success. It was a success. What was it I was thinking? Oh, something I was just thinking about, like with Google, for example. Now, Google, it creates all these little offshoot companies within itself. And uh, so Google creates all these little companies, and a lot of times they don't always work out. And so Google gets rid of the companies. So Google buys up, Google is almost like a SPAC itself. That's what I've kind of felt like at times, because I know the government watches all these companies. So for example, Elon Musk, he bought up Twitter, and I don't think the government saw Elon Musk buying up Twitter as an antitrust, or maybe they did. I don't know. But I was just thinking that Google, but it has some of its own companies, and then it buys up other companies. So I was thinking, well, wait a minute, is Elon Musk a SPAC too? Is Google a SPAC? Or is Mark Zuckerberg a SPAC? I don't know. But it has me questioning if they are SPACs because they buy up other companies, and then sometimes those companies dissolve within the company and they go away. They go back private again. So Congress jumps on the bandwagon of these large companies, and they want to make sure that these companies are not becoming a monopoly. And so that's things that they do related to the brokerage companies. So it's like you have a company, and it's you call it too big to fail. So it would be like, let's say you have a company called, wasn't there a company called the Box Store at one time? I don't know if it's still in business or not. I have no idea. But I was trying to think of another name. Most of them, it seems like, have been used. Well, how about the toothpick store? I don't know if there's a toothpick store or not that's really a big franchise, but let's just say that we have a company called the Toothpick Store, and it's a brick and mortar store in real life. So we have this company called the Toothpick Store. So the Toothpick Store decides to buy up every business in the local area. The Toothpick Store buys up, well, hello, Edward Teagland. Hello, Edward. Pop. Yeah, exactly. You're right. If the Toothpick Store buys up every business in the local area, then it's created a monopoly, and it is going to pop. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Edward Teagland. Um, so, but these other stores, though, they keep their names, so it would be like the Toothpick Store bought up the denim company. You know, it manufactures denim. And then the toothpick store bought up the suit company. It manufactures suits. And then the toothpick store bought up the uniform company. You know, but then it just didn't tell anybody. It didn't bother to tell anybody that the toothpick store owns all these other companies. You know, they just bought it up, didn't bother to tell anyone that they own them, which usually that's what happens though, because nobody knows who owns what. But yes, you're right. It goes because of the fact that then it becomes a monopoly. And um, so that company wants to be able to buy to get its money back though. So the company buys up these other companies. They want to get their money back, or they're trying to make a business their own self. And then a lot of times it turns out it may not be the best deal for them. And so, you know, when companies are being bought by another company, right now I'm thinking, well, maybe it's not a monopoly. Or maybe it's not a monopoly. Maybe they're doing it in the sense of these other companies are just going out of business, because so now it makes it sound like a lot of these companies on Wall Street are a SPAC. Even Google, and Elon Musk, they could be considered a SPAC, and so they buy up companies that are. So the taxpayers technically are buying up companies that are going out of business. So and I'm thinking, okay, so was Twitter going to go out of business? And then Elon Musk bought it up and he called it X. And so so they wanted to save Twitter, and then they just changed the name from the other name to something else, to X. And that's what I'm just thinking about, because I always thought, well, what in the world is a SPAC? Well, any great big Wall Street company can be considered a SPAC. I mean, Alphabet, for crying out loud, of course it could be considered a SPAC. Oh, I mean, I was just thinking too, even Boeing. I know it's an airplane company. Rock New Metal, Madam Boo CS. Well, hello, Madam Boo CS. So if you guys are new and you'd like to subscribe, please hit that subscribe button. And so yeah, that's one of the things I was thinking about related to, Boeing. I have to go back to this example. Now, Boeing has just been an airline. It's a government company. Same thing with Amtrak. I don't think they're not in a bucket of other companies that I'm aware of. However, the hedge funds and the brokerage companies can put them in a bucket for things that they do when they monetize things. Okay, but I'm going to use this as an example. Now, imagine if Boeing decided that they were going to become a SPAC and buy up companies that were going out of business. I have no idea if they can do that. What if Boeing decided, well, gosh, we're an airline company and we have employees and we need a place for the employees to stay when we fly to these different cities. So we're not going to put them in hotels anymore. We're just going to buy up some property and own it ourselves. And then maybe we'll just, since we're a government company, we'll just rent it out at a cheaper price when our employees aren't staying there. So it won't be a Airbnb or anything like that. It'll be just a different kind of a company. So Boeing owns some properties like that. Actually, Boeing would probably make some money if they did that. My goodness, I just spouted out actually something that sounds like a good idea for Boeing. So I know Boeing is subsidized by the United States taxpayers, and Kramer had always said that the airline companies are backed by the American taxpayers, and they don't like to trade in them because they said they're hard because they're so expensive. Madam Busia says a puddle of mud, Lincoln Park, blink 182, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, groups like that. Oh, the old-fashioned. Yeah, the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Yeah, the old-fashioned ones. We could work Linkin Park. I remember Linkin Park, yeah. But I was thinking, because now Boeing, I think it just owns itself. Boeing. I don't think there's anything else involved with it. But when I got back, I was thinking, well, Boeing technically could become a SPAC. I don't know if the government has any antitrust laws on the books related to Boeing actually buying up companies or Boeing owning hotels. You know, I know that I think that the reason that they have different entities own things is to try to prevent monopolies. But let's say Boeing wanted to buy something unusual. Let's say Boeing decided they wanted to buy let's say a big box store was going out of business, and Boeing decides, well, gosh, let's buy that big box store. It's already a grocery store. It's already a chain. And so Boeing buys it up. It's a government company, and they have employees, and Boeing could have ties to the Air Force even. And so Boeing buys up this company on the civilian side of things, and they own a big box store, and they take away the membership, and they let people shop in there for free, and they reduce the price of the food. I bet Boeing would make a lot of money. I bet they would. I mean, they're already subsidized by the government anyway. Doesn't this sound like a great idea? I think so. I think Elon Musk could do the same thing if they were going to invest in communities. Elon Musk could do this identical same thing. So because he has already bought up, okay, what did he start off as? SpaceX, so he's making rockets for the government. And then he bought, and see, Elon Musk's company is what had me thinking about that related to Boeing. NASA could do the same thing. NASA is a government funded company as well. So let's say that NASA decides that it's going to buy up some civilian grocery stores and some properties and things like that. It probably could. But on the same note, I keep thinking it's like, well, does the government in some cases realize that they're actually, when prices keep going up like that they're causing inflation? And you like Brit pop music. What's not a good idea, Madam Busius? It's not a good idea for the government like Boeing to be buying up civilian grocery stores or shopping. Shopping is hard to keep in business. So Boeing itself probably could become a SPAC, but not a good idea for the government to become a SPAC. I agree with you, because then the costs are being passed off to the American taxpayers. That I agree. And see, that's the thing I'm seeing right now with what's going on with the government is, and I heard something about this the other day. Someone was talking about it, and they said that there are some bad investments that have taken place. One of the TV shows, I listened to it for a little bit. They were talking about it, and they said one of the TV shows had said that someone, I think they're talking about the networks, like the multi-channel networks on YouTube and legacy media. It sounds to me like some of these networks, I'm not going to name any names, they have bad debt and bad investments. So it's the traditional media companies, they have a whole lot of debt, and they want the taxpayers to pay for it. Oh, you don't trust big companies. I agree with you. I agree with you. Well, what about a smaller one? So let's say, I mean, no matter how you look at, well, okay, but didn't the government just give Elon Musk like $300 million? I know someone else said like 4 or trillion, was it 3 trillion? Yeah, and so, well, my gosh, if the government gave me some money, I and let me SPAC out some companies, I don't know how I would do it. I would have to, but see, you know what they do? This is what they do. Someone else buys the company, and then they tell the company, now make yourself profitable. That's what's going on. So as prices are rising higher, so these companies are being put out of business. These brick and mortar stores are being put out of business because they can't stay in business. So they're not making enough money. So the only way these brick and mortar stores can stay in business is if prices come down lower. But if they keep raising the prices higher, most of the shopping is not going to stay in business. And I have a belief that Amazon is putting a lot of the brick and mortar out of business. I don't think that's, but now Amazon does have a lot of issues though, because some of the practices of some of the vendors is not good, but at least Amazon does have its own brand. And Amazon does try to keep things lower, but some of the more competitive stuff is, it's almost like they're using it for a placeholder to advertise than to actually sell something. Most companies start with good, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Most companies do start with good intentions. I agree with you on that. Well, that's kind of how, I mean, I felt the same way about myself. You know, when I was doing what I did on YouTube, I kind of considered myself a one-person company. I was a teacher more than anything. I was just a teacher. I wasn't like a company. I never considered myself a company, but I called myself a CEO. I was basically a CEO of one. That's all I was. I mean, it wasn't my intentions to um, to be involved with all this drama and stuff that takes place with the internet, and for things to be how nasty they were. You know, it's like, I never did that. You know, it's like, um, and the thing is the other people, they kept going on and on and on, and it's like media has gotten really nasty. So media has gotten nasty. The reason why is because there is competition. And so they're fighting for the money slots right now, but I think they know they're fighting a losing battle because there's more people on the side of the internet right now and on YouTube and Twitter and Twitch and all the other places than there is on legacy media. So the internet really is, we're watching the demise of cable TV. I'm pretty sure that we are. And they're down to the last few stations, even though they started some new stations. See, that's the thing I think is funny. In the past 5 years or so, like Newsmax just came out of nowhere. Newsmax is just like another Fox news station, and they all just spew out the same thing. You know, so I'm someone who just likes to be in the middle. That's just kind of where I like to be, is in the middle. And so, yeah. But anyway, I think I'm going to end this now. I've been on here long enough. And so thank you guys for watching. And so there's a lot of nasty people in media about it. Oh, well, what's your opinion about that, Madam Boo? I hope you're still here. I was going to go, but now I want to hear what you have to say. Yeah, there's a lot of nasty people in media about. Well, you know what? I think a lot of people are unhappy and media fuels that. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Well, people are unhappy. Well, the media outlet gives people a voice to voice issues. And I know I felt that with myself. I was voicing issues. But when you start losing your income, that makes people nasty and angry. So the thing is, we're voicing opinions, we're learning things along the way. But then when you lose your income, you lose your job, you lose your house, you lose everything, that's when people get angry. So when prices are so high, people can't afford the basics of life, then that becomes the problem. And that's where we're at, unfortunately. I don't know why. I don't know why it's being done. I have no idea why I mean, to me, it just seems like some selfish entity is just purposely causing pain and suffering upon the American public. And I don't know why. Like why they want to make us suffer. Why they want to cause pain and suffering on it. Yeah, it's all, a lot of it is negative. I agree with you. And I know I've been through my share of that, and I've been trying really hard. It's a hard battle. It's a struggle at times. And being around, oh my gosh, what a hunk. Oops. Shouldn't have been looking. Anyway, oh my goodness. I'm too old to be doing that. No, I'm not. Anyway, I lost my train of thought now. A kind of a nice looking guy walked by. Now I lost my train of thought. It's fun to be able to look, though. To me, I just keep myself entertained looking at men. That's harmless. It's harmless for me to look at men. Hype us up to hate. Yeah, you're right. You're right. They do. That's why I be silly, and I make silly things about um about men and even women too. You're right. You're absolutely right that the left the left I don't know, I think both entities have done it. It doesn't matter which branch of media you ascribe to or like to watch. They've both done it. The media's always done it. And some of the older content that I've seen from over the decades has actually done that too. Like from 30, 40, 50 years ago, even before I was born, they have hyped people up to not like each other. And that's what I don't like. I mean, I saw that taking place like 10 years ago. And, so the legacy media would hype up to hate military. And for me, that's all I was hearing out of them. They were doing a huge push, and so now it was kind of like they did this push to hate the military, and then it was like they were trying, I think that what they were trying to do backfired, but they were trying to push people into hating the military so they could position themselves into a place of that people were going to like them, and then they were going to pass the rest of it off onto the American public as doing that on the internet. But that's not how it turned out. So they ended up splitting their own self. They split their self. I don't know how to word it. It was, yeah, well, when people on the internet started calling them out for what they were doing, because legacy media was doing it, and then they did the thing with the elections, and then they pushed the left and the right. They were pushing parties. They were pushing political parties. And, it just got old. They set up the elections, like people were attending some kind of a concert series or something. And it's like, this is completely ridiculous. I always thought, well, it must be some kind of a joke, that they're hyping up presidential elections and debates in the sense of that that everybody, even the audience at home, is involved in some way, which that's just not true. When you're watching it on TV, you're just watching it on TV, even though at that time the internet was more interactive and making things more interactive for us. We still weren't involved. And then they went all crazy with the take this poll, take this survey, do this, do that, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. Well, then all it does is it turns into popularity. So then YouTube is doing polls, and Facebook is doing polls, and Twitter is doing polls, and even I believe Reddit was doing polls. So everybody and their brother is taking polls and surveys and polls and surveys, and it's like, well, then you've just got people selectively choosing words, and then they drilled it down with so the polls was more like a yes or no answer. It's like, do you agree with this, or do you not agree with this? Select yes or no. It's like, well, that's not a conversation. That's just making something so everybody's saying yes or no. And so it's just like the it's like I always said with the TV, it's never been interactive. We can't just go up to a TV screen and actually talk to it and ask the journalist questions who's up there. I can't even call them a journalist anymore. They're not. They're just like a YouTube content host. Madame Boo CS says, trying to influence the public and calling those who disagree with them names and racist when they themselves are doing what they are accusing others of. Yes, that's the whole thing that I've heard too. Are you talking about the far left MSDNC? Because they were some of the worst. They were the worst. MSNBC was the worst of the worst of the worst. And I just, actually, I don't even think I have it right now, and I'm glad. I can't even see that show anymore. I can't even see that show anymore, and I'm so glad. You know what? Maybe this is a projection. I think it might be a projection. I don't think that I have that show anymore. And I think that could be a projection that it might be going away. I'm not positive, but it could be. I'm just saying it could be. I'm not for sure. But I know that as time passes, there's less and less. Oh, they were terrible. They were, and the last that I knew about a month ago, well, two or 3 months ago, they started firing people and getting rid of people, and then they started showing some of them. They're still paying them the big money, $20 million a month, but they're making them work less hours. And it's like, well, why are you rewarding people? You're still giving them $20 million a month, and you're rewarding them with less hours? So it's like, I never could get a pay package from Google or anything like that. I wasn't working for them. I've never gotten a pay package of some sort from someone for getting fired and then still being paid millions and millions of dollars. I would have loved to have been paid millions of dollars to to no longer work. It's like, who wouldn't love that? I know I would. Someone paid me millions of dollars to get off of YouTube and stay off of YouTube. Pfft, call me gone. But, no one's going to pay me $20 million to get off of YouTube. I watch a lot of American news and stuff. Got to keep an eye on the world events. I don't watch American news. I'm in America, and I don't watch American news because I don't believe any of it. I don't believe it's true. I don't believe any of it's true. I actually don't even believe most of the wars they have on around the world are even going on. I'd take $20 million my own self. Yeah. I mean, heck, Elon Musk, he got what'd they say? It was was it $33 trillion or 44? Someone said it was a whole bunch of money. He got 33 trillion or 44 trillion, something like that. And it's like, I would like the government to pay me a bunch of money. Or I'd love to be the CEO of a government company. That would be fun. Yeah, if I was a CEO of a government company and I could call myself a billionaire, that would be fun. come on, government, create a job for me so I can be a CEO like Elon Musk. And then I can have some hot, sexy men chasing after me because I'm loaded with lots of money. But all the same, technically, I have nothing. But I still get to call myself a trillionaire just like Elon Musk. I want to be that woman to be able to do that. And then just talk on media all the time, and I get all kinds of attention. And I go on TV, and I'm really famous just for talking about, I'm just famous for being famous. That would be kind of fun. Um, but my problem is I can rationalize how to run a company and possibly how to make it make money, but at the same time, I'm not one who would like to fire people. I want to make everybody happy, and I want to foster an environment where everyone's needs are met. And see that if I was the president of the United States, which that's a CEO too, I consider the president of the United States of America, he's a CEO of the country, even though he's president. That's something that the president kind of has to do too. And so I don't believe anything they say. I like to see what they say and what BS next. Yeah, I do listen a little bit, but not a whole lot. Because the thing is, it's just the same person's opinion. It's just like watching one YouTube channel and you have a favorite content creator. It's just like watching one person all the time. You're getting one person's opinion. And that's what legacy media news is one person's opinion. But now you have to consider this too with the United States companies, that sometimes they have brand product deals. So someone will send them a script of something that they read from, and they can be paid millions of dollars for repeating a story. They can be paid millions and millions of dollars for repeating the same story over and over again in the news cycles. And they're telling a complete lie. So these politicians here lie about each other all the time. And they do it to sway the opinion of politics. Now, sometimes I think they do it to plant seeds of doubt. They do it to plant seeds of doubt. And I think sometimes it's when they see people being a certain way. I think right now a lot of it has to do with Christianity and oppression and self-censorship. I think that's a big part of it right now, people being afraid to speak out. And I know I've kind of felt that way myself. It's like, well, why am I feeling this way? I started on the internet back in the mid 90s, and well, it was kind of secretive though. I mean, I felt like it was sort of secretive a little bit because of the fact that it's like, oh my gosh, I wouldn't ever want anybody to know I was on the internet saying some of these things. And right now, it's like on my original YouTube channel, I'm thinking, well, gosh, I just about said almost a lot of things, and a lot of things that worse happened I would have never thought about back then that would have happened. Um, I am not I'm not religious. No. I have not been religious for over 40 years. And I can't even say that I was religious when I was a kid. I was only religious because my parents made me go to church. That was the only reason I was religious. And so I'm sort of anti-religion in a sense. I'm not going to say I'm anti-religion. I'm not in the sense that I want other people to change, because I don't. I want them to believe what they want to believe. I'm not going to go out and say you shouldn't believe in this. I'm not going to do that. But I will debate with religion. I love religious debates, and I have a lot of fun with the thought, because I think there's things in the Bible that show more science and earth type of activities related to the Bible being a journal of a place and time in history. and there is alluding to earth features written in such a way, but a lot of Bible scholars don't want to, they don't want to talk about that stuff. Oh, you can ask personal questions. No, that's fine. I really don't have a problem with personal questions. It's just that there's probably some things I'm still not going to talk about until I get into a place where I'm settled from things that have taken place over the past several years, and I just can't seem to catch a break to get something that is for me. I do, though, believe in some other things. What other things do you believe in? Well, religion to me is sort of like, religion to me is sort of like a political country that has a king and a dictatorship. So I see ties to that. So when I see that, it's like I see ties to dictatorships and religion. So it's almost like religion is something that is a religion has evolved downward from kings. So that's kind of what I see, that religion has actually is kind of being wrapped up into, it's almost like religion is being wrapped up into, I was going to compare it to a SPAC on Wall Street. So it's almost like religion is dissolving itself. That's kind of what I think. Religion is dissolving itself naturally on its own. And maybe it's in a progressive way where, it doesn't mean that it won't exist in some capacity, but, where kings and dictators and like the German Holocaust and things like that were happening, I think religion is working its way down and dissolving itself. You're scared to, you're scared to say. So you do believe in, well, you don't have to be scared. I'm not going to chase you off of my channel. I mean, you can say what you believe in. I'm not going to chase you off of my channel as far as that goes. You're welcome to speak your mind and say what you want to say. I don't know who you are. You don't know who I am. And so, I mean, I'm not going to hold it against you, because I've had people say some really strange things, and I just don't like to hold it against people. If someone gives me a reason to hold something against them, they're doing something really wrong. And so, but you don't have to say anything. I just wanted to open the door if you're welcome, so you feel welcome to say something if you want to. You are welcome. Maybe I should have put up a different sign. I'll think of something and maybe do this a little bit later. I've probably been on here long enough right now, and so, but I want, one last time, I want to invite y'all to subscribe. Oh, practicing pagan. Well, isn't pagan the same thing as a non-believer? I mean, I think it's the same thing. I think a practicing pagan, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't know can you explain to me what a practicing pagan is? Because I've heard of that before. My mom used that, like when I got married in my first marriage. My mom used that wording. She said she wasn't going to have. Oh, thank you for subscribing. She said that she didn't want to have pagan music at the church. Well, she told me that the church said they wouldn't play pagan music, which that turned out not to be true because I had a friend get married. I think it was more my mom didn't want to have pagan music at my wedding because I wanted to see if the artist or if the organist would play some modern songs, and my mom pretty much said no, she didn't want that at my wedding, so she made a lot of decisions. Oh, you're still learning about the pagan. Maybe I should. That would be interesting to look up the meaning of the. I was thinking paganism had to do with as modern society changes. And I think that's a common, I think that's a common struggle. Just like me being a non-believer. Because I've called myself a pagan in the past. I've called myself an atheist. And I finally settled on a non-believer. It's like, okay, I just want to be a non-believer, a non-participant. Where is my freedom from religion? Birthday cakes started as a pagan tradition. And then now all churches have birthday cakes, don't they? So you know what? It's the same thing with the internet. The churches, a lot of them on the internet, don't like the internet, but at the same time, they're on the internet. That's the thing that drives me kind of nuts, is it's like, okay, you guys, you have your congregations on the internet, you're trashing the internet, but you're still on the internet. And a lot of your people in your congregations like the internet. Some of them have probably found incomes and jobs through the internet, but yet you have your church people trashing the internet. Now, I have heard some of the people who they said, well, yeah, we were a church and we were saying we didn't like the internet, but now we like it. So for some reason, they like it now. No, the churches like the internet. So even the church people are changing to like something, so they're finding out the internet is not a big and bad, of scary a place as they thought it was going to be. I honestly don't think that AI is going to take jobs away from people, because you know what's going to happen is that if you take a if you try to turn a job over to artificial intelligence for something, it's going to fail every time. Like Christmas is Yule. Well, you know what? Do you remember? Christmas is a winter festival. I mean, nobody in the grand scheme of real life can know when Jesus was born. Somebody just picked a date, and I believe it's church people that just picked a date. So it falls in around a time frame of winter festivals. So there's winter festivals that have historically taken place. And you know what? If church completely changes in the future, that's what's being noted right now, is our current society that we're living in has is celebrating winter festivals. Christmas is a winter festival. So for people who want to be pagans and non-believers, there's nothing wrong with that. Atheists, we can still participate in winter festivals. I've always said that, and that's why I do take on a pagan notion of it's a winter festival, and so I take the religion out of it. They picked it up near the winter solstice, yes, which is December 21st. I should make another. should make another winter solstice. I had one I did last year, and it got quite a few views actually. Uh, Winter solstice is December 21st. Is that what you said? Yeah. I mean, and I think all I did was a little napkin artwork, which was a lot of fun. I made something that I thought was one. Oh, 1221. 1221 is what I did. And I thought that was a lot of fun. Yeah, 1221. Maybe I should do that and get a little video ready for December. Do that every year, because then it's just something that I did. And, I think probably other people have done the same thing. Without a doubt, I'm sure I'm going to be able to find it, because I think on YouTube, there's just about nothing that has not been covered. I still celebrate Christmas because of my mom and children. I don't push my beliefs on them. You know what? There's nothing wrong with that. I don't I don't feel like I've ever pushed my beliefs on anybody. I just wanted to talk about, well, this is my struggle. I just wanted to talk about what I didn't believe in, and that I didn't want to believe the same way, and I had a hard time doing that. My struggle was even telling my family that I didn't want to believe. And I'm an old person. And so, for example, when I was young, religion kind of was pushed on us a lot and heavy. And that was the thing with, for example, with all the traditions such as baptisms and confirmation and weddings, and then, once you get married, you're going to have to find a church. And, I heard that religiously from my grandparents and my mom. Have you found a church yet? Have you found a church yet? Have you found a church yet? And it's like, I, I would ignore them because I didn't want to go to church. So it wasn't, so I just kind of felt like it was a thing. It's like, I don't want to go to church. I just felt like that was always in my brain. It's like, if I could be a little 2-year-old and I was screaming and crying, I don't want to go to church. I would love to make a short video of that, of a 2-year-old toddler having a little temper tantrum meltdown, yelling and screaming and pounding on the floor. I don't want to go to church. I don't know if I can do that or not in my shorts, but if someone else can, I would love to see that. I don't want to go to church. A little toddler, a 2 or a 3-year-old yelling and screaming, I don't want to go to church. That's me. That would be me. My spirit was, when I was 18, 19 years old, 20. Oh my gosh, I can't remember. I think it was 10 years after, oh, maybe 5 or 10. My mom finally stopped asking if I'd found a church yet, when my kids got old enough to talk, and they just told her that we weren't going to church. So my mom got nosy. She'd ask my kids if we were going to church. They would tell her no. And so she knew that we weren't going to church. So my kids did. But if she was going to be nosy and pick their brain and do it that way, then she found out the hard way that I really didn't want to go to church. And she kept saying, well, now you should be going to church. And then, like with my second husband, she, before I got married to him, she made some remarks about, well, maybe he'll get you back into going to church, which that wasn't going to happen, because I didn't like going to church. So Madame Booth, yes, says, I'd feel bad if I didn't do that for them, as I'm surrounded by Christian values. Well, you can still have your Christian values. I mean, you can still have Christian values of, what are Christian values? I mean, I thought the premise of Jesus was kindness and grace and, being kind to people and, just treating a person as a human being and not someone that you want to argue with. Yeah, generational. I get that. John Wixom says, Can I get moderator? I will be respectful, and if I do something bad, ban me." Okay, so John, you want to be okay. Let's give you want to be a moderator. Okay, I'm going to add John as a moderator since he asked. I'm going to give you standard because I don't know how this works. John Wixom is now my moderator. Okay. Did you get it? You got a wrench now? Or you should have, maybe. I don't know if I'll... So John wanted to be a moderator. So Madam Boo CS says, "My family only goes to church for weddings and funerals, and they ain't really religious, but I still have certain values of it, and it's just natural to them." Yeah, I know. My family... Well... My mom liked going to church for socialization. My dad would have rather been fishing. I guarantee you, if my dad, no, oh, I'm not going to ban you, Madam Boo. John shouldn't, I hope John doesn't ban you. I gave John, I don't know, maybe he didn't see it. He should have a wrench, but I don't see the wrench. Maybe I don't see... I thought I would see what the wrench is, but I don't see a wrench next to his name. I was thinking I would be able to see a wrench, but I guess not. I haven't banned anybody. There was just one person I banned, but then they came back anyway. Which was kind of funny. They just created a different account and they came back under a different account. No, I'm not going to ban you, Madam Boo CS. I think this is a good discussion, and it's, you know what? It's hard for people to have this discussion. And I know it was hard for me when I was younger because, well, you know what? The great thing for me, though, when I was younger, there was other people who weren't going to church. And I was thinking there was at least one girl, or she wasn't a girl, she was like me. I called myself a girl even at that time. There was a young woman, she had kids, I had kids, but she said she felt guilty sometimes for not going to church. But you know what? The funny thing is that I was a military spouse, and all of us, we weren't going to church. None of us were going to church. Now, if we would have had a place to go to church and we could have sang the Days of Elijah like the Marine Corps does, we would have had fun in church. We would have been doing karaoke. We would have been doing churchioke. Instead of churchianity. We would have been doing churchioke, which is church karaoke. We would have been doing marinioke. Yeah, marinioke. These are the days of Elijah. Ho, ho! Right? These are the days of Elijah. Ooh, ooh! To be honest, the last time I was in church, I was worried that I would burst into flames. Me too! I was worried that if I went into a church, that I would be surrounded with the devil's forked tongue and the church would just spontaneously combust into ashes because I was bringing in such a bad presence into the church. But I shouldn't have placed that on myself. The last time I was in a church, I went into the church to vote, though, and nothing bad happened. Well, the only thing bad that happened from that was the Affordable Care Act. That was like one of the last times I was in a church. And and then the government changed the voting from the church to a different place. And so, yeah, that's what I was feeling like. I don't want to say anything too bad or too negative, because I don't want to get censored or anything like that. But yes, I think I can say spontaneous combustion. That's how I felt like, is that the church would spontaneously combust into a bunch of ashes if I went into it, because it had been so long since I'd been in the church. But now I really, but the thing is, I still kind of live in a church community, though. Um, I can't say much about it, but I really do live in a church community. And I still, um, I know there's good people in this community. I think I'm slowly gravitating to them more and more as time progresses. I think that's what it feels like. Um, I know they're here. It's just that they're hard to find. I know they exist. And, so I'm just trying really hard to not focus on some of that negative media wording and things that they were using, because that does rub off on me. I don't like using that. And it's like I find myself falling into a spiral of something that I said what I had to say, and it's like I want to move out of that and go away from it, because it does bring on a lot of negativity. But at the same time, sometimes I think that military intelligence goes down that route. I really do. It's either that or YouTube, one of the two of them. They go down that route and they use those negative words. And it's like, why are you guys doing that? I've heard them do it. I've heard them do it, literally. They just do it, and I think the police do it too. I really think, I'm positive the police do it. So they're purposely doing some of this agitational stuff. Madame Busius says, my church was built in the 12th century. It has protective charms and spells cast on it. Old churches from the time do. Well, cool. The church. There is one church in the city that I used to have an address in. Oh my God, I miss living in my house. It was my house. And it had the same address as the man that I had such a huge crush on, but I still want to have a crush on him, but I haven't heard from him or seen him in forever. But I really liked him so much. And that's the problem when you can't get someone out of your head like that. It's like, what in the hell? But now I'm at the place of, it's like, okay, I've moved on. I've gotten all the majority of that crap out of my system. I guess I had a lot more talking to do. So after the year of when I went through the temporary protective order, I shut everything off. I tried to, well, I didn't really shut it off. My brain was still rocking and rolling like crazy. And then when I lost my place to live, my brain was rocking and rolling like crazy, even worse. It just sent me back into another spiral. That's all that happened. And then my brain went into not knowing what to do. Being around other people. You know what? My brain went into the place where the other people were. They were at the same place too. So there was really nothing unusual about me or my circumstances, and just except that I was in a domestic violent marriage. But see, they were expressing things too. They're hurt people too. The other people are hurt. I still like my first love. My favorite type of music is Indian Christmas remixes. I've never heard of Indian Christmas remixes. I might have to look that up and see what it is. It could be interesting. I feel bad for Native Indian. Native American Indian. I mean, that's what I always felt like. You're sorry for what? What are you sorry for? Who is your first love? Sleigh Ride Indian Edition. I've never seen a Sleigh Ride Indian Edition. Over the river and through the woods to grandmother's house we go. The horse knows the way to carry the sleigh through the white and driven snow. I don't think that's right. Indian Edition. On a toboggan? On a little toboggan? The Indian way. On a little wooden sleigh? On a tarp? On a little mat? On the pelt of an animal that had to be sacrificed for food and for warmth, and there's a little sleigh that's made out of the pelt of the animal. The sleigh. There's John Wixom. Sleigh Ride Indian Edition. I'm going to have to look that up and see what it is. And John does not want to be banned. Okay, John, make sure you're good. You don't be bad. Don't be deleting people. Because I don't get very many comments. And so, okay. I wonder if I'll get a notice if it says you're deleting comments. Probably not. But I don't get enough comments to, for the most part, I don't want anybody, I won't delete people unless absolutely necessary. Well, you probably have an idea of what I don't like. I really don't get a whole lot of troublemakers. Well, you want to hear something funny? On my original YouTube channel where I had a lot of subscribers, I added someone as a moderator, and they got mad when I removed them as a moderator, and I couldn't figure out why. I mean, they literally seemed upset because I removed them as a moderator. And I thought, well, why would you be upset because I removed you as a moderator? I wasn't really getting any comments that was that bad. The place that was making things bad for me was, I think it was Facebook. Facebook was the problem. It wasn't YouTube. It was Facebook more than anything. Now YouTube did have some things at the beginning, which was, I was just asking questions, trying to figure out what was going on, how I could get more subscribers. And then, but it was over. I was upset because I was losing revenue, but I didn't realize I was fighting up against the networks either. So then it becomes stressful. So it wasn't like YouTube in and of itself was doing anything to harm me. Curse words are curse words. I'd heard curse words before, and that wasn't a big deal to me. Oh, Madam Boozy, you don't use social media? Well, if you don't use social media, then you're on here right now. This is social media, right? I mean, because social media is talking to people. You know that, right? When you talk to people in person, face to face, that's social media. And I know a lot of people don't agree with me. But when you talk to someone face to face, that is social media. Oh, I know who doesn't use social media. That would be someone who is under probably a non-disclosure agreement. I thought social media was just online. Well, I have a different thought process of social media. My thought process is that social media, I'm going to share with you, I'll tell you right now what my thought process on social media, why I formulated it, was because there was such a negative outcry against the internet that about, and they kept saying that social media was just on the internet, and that was coming from legacy media, that I formulated a whole new opinion of what social media is. So social media for me became talking face to face. Oh my goodness, the old person plop. And and so I thought, wait a minute. Us talking face to face is social media. That was around long before TV, that was around before radio, that was around before the internet. So we had radio, TV, then cable, and the internet. When TV and cable are pretty much the same thing. Internet's pretty much the same thing. It's just that we're interactive now with people. Oh, you just use YouTube. That's pretty much all I use right now is YouTube as well. I'm on Reddit though too, a little bit on Reddit. Come to think of it, I need to go on Reddit today and make a post because I think I'm on a 50-day streak right now. I think I had a year at one time before I deleted my Reddit account. So I had another Reddit account when they were banning people so much, but they're slowing down on doing that though. So they're not banning people as much, and then Reddit's doing the thing similar to what Google does, where you make a post and you're the only one that can see it. So like Reddit uses that in the sense of that if you violate someone's community terms on their community, you will still see your post, but nobody else will see it. Yes, John. Thank you so much, John. John Wixom. Oh, you have to go. Okay, we'll see you later, John. Yeah, I'm going to have to go too. I might have some things I need to do before it gets too late. So thanks for stopping by. It's nice to have someone to chit chat with. Sometimes maybe it'll be fun. Maybe we'll be able to have a two-way conversation someday where people in the chat can actually just or we have a little button, and so it's kind of like TikTok, but they put a thing up that's kind of like raising your hand, and they want to talk for a little bit, and so we can let them talk for a little bit. But I didn't like the abuses that took place on TikTok, though, where people were just banning everyone off. I didn't like that at all. I thought that was rude. TikTok is like horrific at times. But yeah, I think I'm going to go right now too. And so thank you for being here, Madam Busius. And so we'll see you guys the next time. I hope you're here.